On October 30, 2025, General Motors announced thousands of job cuts, marking one of the largest rounds of layoffs in recent automotive history. The news sent shockwaves through factory towns in the Midwest, where generations have depended on GM for stable jobs and a sense of community. In Lordstown, Ohio, the Ultium Cells battery plant cut 550 jobs, a staggering blow to a town still haunted by the closure of its iconic GM assembly plant just a few years ago. The company also temporarily laid off another 850 workers, devastating a community already reeling from past closures and economic uncertainty. Detroit's Factory Zero, once a beacon for the electric future and a symbol of hope for American manufacturing, lost 200 jobs overnight, leaving workers stunned and searching for answers. Tennessee's Ultium plant also saw 700 temporary layoffs, as the effects of GM's decision rippled far beyond the Midwest, touching families across the country. For every worker let go, the impact rippled through families, local businesses, and schools. Restaurants, shops, and service providers all felt the sting as paychecks disappeared and spending slowed. These weren't just numbers, they were parents and neighbors facing a holiday season filled with anxiety, wondering how to make ends meet and keep traditions alive. Many believed retraining for electric vehicles would secure their futures, investing time and hope in new skills, only to find themselves back at square one. "We were building the batteries that were supposed to power America," said one laid-off worker. "Now it feels like they just pulled the plug on us." The sense of loss was palpable. The sense of betrayal ran deep, as workers who adapted to the company's vision were left behind, questioning the promises made about the future of American manufacturing. The auto industry had been the backbone of these communities for generations, providing not just jobs, but identity, pride, and a way of life. Now, that foundation was crumbling, leaving behind uncertainty and a sense of loss that stretched far beyond the factory gates. As families gathered to discuss their uncertain future, one question lingered: what happens now? For many, the answer remains heartbreakingly unclear. The dream of an all-electric future hit a wall in 2025, as the auto industry faced a reality check that few had anticipated. For years, automakers and policymakers promised a smooth transition to electric vehicles, but the road turned out to be far bumpier than expected. And, when the market faltered, it was the workers who paid the price, facing uncertainty and sudden layoffs. GM, one of the biggest players in the EV race, blamed the layoffs on a sudden dramatic drop in demand for electric vehicles. A drop that sent shockwaves through the entire industry. For months, sales soared, and showrooms buzzed with excitement, until a key government incentive vanished almost overnight. The $7,500 federal tax credit for EV buyers expired, instantly making electric cars thousands more expensive for everyday Americans. Suddenly, what seemed like an affordable option was out of reach for many families. Without the credit, sales plummeted 74% after September 30th, leaving automakers with lots full of unsold cars and factories with far too many workers for the shrinking demand. GM, having bet big on electric, was caught off guard by how quickly the market turned. Executives scrambled to respond, but the damage was already done. Their business model, built on steady EV growth and government support, collapsed almost overnight, forcing a painful reckoning. "We need to right-size our capacity," said GM's CFO, Paul Jacobson, meaning factories and jobs had to go, no matter the human cost. Plants dedicated to electric vehicles like Ultium were hit first, as companies scrambled to cut costs and stem their losses. The rapid shift exposed just how fragile the transition to electric could be without consistent government support and careful planning. In the end, it was the workers, those who built the cars and powered the industry, who bore the brunt of a policy change they never saw coming, left to pick up the pieces as the industry struggled to adapt. The policy that rocked the auto industry was President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act, signed in July 2025. Its most controversial move, eliminating the $7,500 federal tax credit for electric vehicles. Trump argued the market should decide winners, not government subsidies. Supporters cheered, claiming EVs should stand on their own, but the tax credit had made EVs affordable for many families. Its removal priced out countless buyers overnight. The result: a 74% drop in EV sales, billions in stranded investments, and assembly lines grinding to a halt. Ford threatened to idle its Rouge electric vehicle center, and GM slashed jobs. Ironically, a bill meant to help the economy triggered mass layoffs. Trump's promise to protect American manufacturing jobs backfired, destabilizing a key sector. The unintended consequence was clear: policy can make or break entire industries. While U.S. auto workers faced layoffs, Canada took a different path under Prime Minister Mark Carney. Watching the U.S. market crash, Carney delayed Canada's own electric vehicle mandates. This gave Canadian automakers time to adjust, avoiding the oversupply and layoffs seen in the U.S. The government worked with companies and unions to keep factories open and people employed. Carney's pragmatic approach included targeted support for the industry. The result? While thousands lost jobs in the U.S., Canada saved about 4,000 auto jobs. The contrast was stark. Government action made all the difference. Canada's intervention provided stability and resilience for its workers. The country's auto sector emerged stronger, ready for future challenges. The difference between American and Canadian auto workers in late 2025 was dramatic. In the U.S., over 3,000 GM jobs vanished, devastating communities in Ohio, Michigan, and Tennessee. The end of the EV tax credit triggered a domino effect: falling sales, production cuts, and pink slips. Meanwhile, Canada's delayed mandates and support measures preserved 4,000 jobs. Two philosophies collided. America's free market approach led to chaos, while Canada's interventionist strategy brought stability. For Canadian workers, it meant steady paychecks and hope for the future. In the U.S., policy choices cost thousands their livelihoods. The lesson was clear: government decisions have real consequences for ordinary people. The fate of workers depended on which side of the border they called home. The auto industry's troubles deepened as a U.S.-Canada trade war escalated, sending shockwaves through both economies. What began as a dispute over trade imbalances quickly spiraled into a full-blown confrontation, with businesses and workers caught in the crossfire. In August 2025, the Trump administration hiked tariffs on Canadian goods, including a 25% tax on cars and a staggering 50% on steel and aluminum. The move was framed as a way to protect American jobs and industries, but it also risked alienating a key ally and trading partner. These tariffs aimed to force production back to the U.S., but instead created chaos in the integrated North American supply chain. Factories on both sides of the border faced delays, shortages, and mounting costs, threatening the livelihoods of thousands. Stellantis canceled plans for a new Jeep in Brampton, Ontario, shifting production to Illinois, putting 1,500 Canadian jobs at risk. The decision sent shockwaves through the local community, raising fears of further job losses and economic decline. The move showed how tariffs could pit workers in one country against another, fueling resentment and uncertainty. Protests erupted as unions demanded action to protect their members, while companies struggled to adapt to the new reality. Prime Minister Carney refused to retaliate, instead launching a strategy to reduce Canada's reliance on U.S. trade. He called for unity and resilience, urging Canadians to look beyond their southern neighbor for economic opportunities. The government helped companies find new international markets, forging fresh partnerships in Europe, Asia, and beyond. Canadian exporters began to diversify, seeking stability in an increasingly unpredictable world. The once stable partnership between the U.S. and Canada entered a new era of uncertainty, as trust and cooperation gave way to suspicion and competition. The future of North American manufacturing was suddenly up for grabs, with companies, workers, and governments all searching for a path forward in a rapidly changing landscape. Amid policy battles, workers' voices revealed frustration and division. U.S. union leaders like UAW's Shawn Fain praised Trump's tariffs, seeing job gains as a win, even at Canada's expense. In Canada, Unifor backed Carney's efforts to protect domestic jobs. This nationalist focus deepened rifts between workers across the border. Many on the factory floor saw through the divide-and-conquer tactics. "The guy in Ontario is just like me," said a Detroit GM worker. "The real issue is companies chasing profits." Disillusioned with union leadership, some workers began organizing across borders. The International Workers Alliance called for unity among U.S., Canadian, and Mexican auto workers. Their message was simple: solidarity, not division, is the only way to fight for job security. A new movement was taking shape, challenging old narratives. The events of 2025 exposed deep challenges for North American auto workers. Beyond trade wars and policy shifts, automation loomed as a long-term threat. Automakers invested in AI and robotics, boosting productivity but reducing the need for human labor. The future of auto jobs now depends on how governments manage technology, trade, and worker protections. Canada's supportive approach offered a buffer. America's abrupt changes fueled instability. Workers face a precarious future, caught between global forces and political decisions. The path forward may depend on workers organizing across borders to demand fair treatment. The road ahead is uncertain, but standing still is not an option.